What is going on, guys and gals? Brooklyn bound the raid scientist here with another Destiny 2 raid guide. Today, we're going to travel under the belly of the Leviathan and destroy the Vex invasion inside the Eater of Worlds. This raid got a lot of bad press upon its release due to how short it is and the lack of an exotic weapon. However, in my opinion, at release, it is still one of the most fun and exhilarating boss fights in the game. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to complete each encounter so you can experience it for yourself. Let's get started. As I already stated, this raid takes place in the underbelly of the Leviathan, and the first encounter takes place in the reactor core. You have to navigate a series of platforms and checkpoints to reach the end, where waves of callous loyalists are waiting for you. There are really no subclass needs here. My recommendation would be to just have a super that is roaming to help the waves of ads at end of the platforms. But in addition, you'll want a ranged weapon like a scout or a pulse to handle the scion snipers that will spawn randomly up on the reactor ledges. The goal in the first part of this encounter is to traverse the reactor using the platforms that rise up out of the purple mist. As each plate is activated by jumping on it, the next plate will rise up out of the mist. The concept here is that you can only have one guardian on each plate at a time, so you're basically playing a game of follow the leader. If two people ever touch the same plate at the same time, the sequence will break, the plates will disappear, and you'll have to start the sequence all over again at the last checkpoint. I recommend getting into a numbered order, 1 through 6, and then assigning where each person will go. Once you get to the point where all the plates turn red and the command on screen says reactor temperature rises, that means you can all push forward quickly to the next checkpoint area, and the plates will lock in place briefly before they all disappear. There are 4 different sections that have different plate patterns. Here is a diagram I found online that shows the order of the plates appear in each section. Note that I didn't make this, so shout out to the name here. In section 1, you can see they spawn in a fairly linear pattern. After checkpoint 1, you'll have to split the teams up as the plates spawn back and forth in separate lines until they merge together at plate 9. In the third section, the first 7 plates are linear, and then the 8th plate spawns back a ways. The 4th person in the sequence will need to continue to the left at this point to finish the plate sequence. Then finally, in the last section, there is a long linear pattern with plates spawning across in some spots. Be wary of the spot by plates 7 and 8, as you may have to jump over someone to get to your plate. Once you finish the plate section, jump across and you'll start a series of enemy waves you'll need to clear before finishing. The last wave you'll get Colossus, and once they are down, Callus will halt the attack and allow you to pass, as he's going to need your help destroying what lies further in. Drop down the shaft, traverse the room with the scions until you enter this barrel-looking tunnel. You'll get launched out of it and fall a very, very long way down to the bottom. There is a secret chest you can obtain here. As you fall, there are 6 Vex rings that have dark red or amber color that signifies they have not been activated, and they will change to a white color if you go through them. If you activate all 6, you'll spawn a chest that can award an exotic. If you don't get all 6 the first try, just leave one person alive at the bottom, and everybody else can jump back off the ledge to die, respawn up top, and try again. If everybody dies, it resets the rings and you have to start over. Once you've collected the chest, jump across the floating rocks down to the first phase of the boss encounter. In phase 1, you'll want to get familiar with the battle arena, as you'll be fighting here the rest of the raid. Note, there are 3 elemental islands: Void, Arc, and Solar. Each island has a triangular-shaped plate with 3 fires in the middle. For this encounter, you'll want to pre-assign 3 players as defenders of each island. The other 3 players will be the runners for each island. Supers, I recommend roaming supers for all classes. You won't be fighting a boss here, so I recommend ad-clearing meta weapons as well. A good void energy weapon is good because the minotaurs that will spawn have void shields. The goal of this encounter will be to destroy the elemental crystals that are going to spawn on the cubic-shaped monstrosity in front of you. To do this, you're going to create elementally charged weapons by placing empty orbs into the different fires around the arena. If you place this empty orb into any of the fires, it will charge into a weapon with the damage type of the fire you placed it in. Each set of rocks between the islands will spawn 2 empty orbs in random positions. The runner's job will be to run collect the empty orbs and take them to their island to charge them. Then, once the orb is charged, they can take it out of the fire and run it to shoot the crystals that spawn the cube. The defender's job is to keep all of the ads that spawn on their island at bay and help the runner if they get behind for any reason. You'll see in a minute that the runner's job can get overwhelming at times, so going to grab an empty orb and charging it for your runner can really help out in a pinch. When the encounter starts, 3 elemental crystals will spawn on one of the sides of the cube. It is the defender's job, on whichever side gets the first crystals, to call out what they are. For example, 1 arc and 2 void, or 2 solar and 1 void, etc. Once called out, the runners will charge the orbs they are responsible for, and then take the charged ones to the side they were needed and shoot the crystals with it. A fully charged orb will have 40 ammo, and it takes about 23 to 25 ammo to destroy 1 crystal. This is important to note because you need 2 charged orbs to destroy 2 crystals, unless you have mods that increase your damage, but that's pretty advanced. So, runners have to be fast if they have 2 crystals to destroy in another area. For example, if there are 2 arc crystals to destroy on the void side, the arc runner will grab 1 charged arc crystal, run over to the void side, shoot the first one and destroy it, and then use the remaining ammo to shoot the second one. Then they'll have to run back to the arc fire and grab the second arc orb, and then run back over to void and shoot the rest of that arc crystal to destroy that one. Note that once a set of 3 crystals spawns, you have about 90 seconds or so to destroy them before they explode and the raid wipes. So you'll always want to work in order as they have spawned. It's important that the runners communicate with each other and help each other out. There is a chance you can actually get 3 of the same element, and in this case, it's best to have one of the runners from one of the other islands that has 0 crystals to destroy to come help charge orbs and run them to shoot. One final note about the crystal spawns is that the crystals always spawn in the same direction, depending on where the first set spawn, which is random. They spawn clockwise. So for example, if Void gets the first sets of crystals, then Solar will be second and Arc will be last. Overall, you need to destroy 6 crystals on all 3 sides for a total of 18 crystals to complete the encounter. Once they are all down, a chest will spawn on the Void Island, and the cubic shield hiding the giant Vex Mind will disappear. You will now face Argos, Planetary Core. To prepare for this encounter, you'll want to have at least 1 Titan with a Weapons of Light bubble, 1 Warlock for Well of Radiance, and Hunters most likely want to be on Golden Gun with Celestial Nighthawk. Weapons, like most of my other boss guys, you'll want whatever weapons are meta for the season you are playing. Whisper of the Worm is always a very solid option here as the boss is relatively far away and has a large crit spot. Guardians clearing ads probably want to have a Void secondary to strip shields off of Minotaurs as well. You'll then want to designate 3 players to be runners and 3 players to be defenders, just like the last encounter. Each runner and each defender will be responsible for a specific element. Kinda. It basically means that the empty orb that each person grabs will be taken from that designated area. For example, the Arc Defender and Arc Runner will always grab the empty orbs that are near the Arc Island. This keeps people from grabbing other people's orbs accidentally and having people have to run around the arena trying to find an empty one. When the encounter starts, Argos will turn and randomly face one of the 3 islands, and a crystal shield will protect him. Whichever island he is facing is the island the defenders are responsible for defending. Their job will be to pick up their designated empty orb and then take that orb to the island that he is facing. And all 3 defenders will drop their empty orbs into the 3 fires there to charge. One way to clearly note which island Argos is facing is because there will be 3 elemental colored spots on his shield. One on the left, one on the top, and one on the right. And only the island he's facing will be able to see all 3 clearly. While this is going on, one of the first things that also needs to be communicated is what the identity of the 3 elemental orbs around his shield actually are, because this is extremely important for the runners, so call it out as soon as the encounter starts. Once the defenders have dropped their orbs in the fire, waves of adds and Harpies will spawn at that plate. Their job is to keep all of the adds down as the runners prepare for DPS phase. Focus on the Harpies and the Minotaurs first, followed by the Goblins. Now, while the defenders are taking care of their empty orbs, charging at the plate that Argos is facing, and clearing adds, the 3 runners have the job of charging the orbs that are needed to break Argos' shield in order to damage him. So, when the 3 different elements are called out, the 3 runners will work to ensure all 3 of those orbs are charged. Arc Runner will prioritize charging an Arc Orb if it's needed, Solar will prioritize charging a Solar Orb if it's needed, and Void Runner will prioritize charging a Void Orb if it's needed. However, if their respective element is not needed, then they'll need to go charge theirs on a different island that needs 2 of the same element. For example, if the callout is 1 Solar, 1 Arc, and 1 Void, then all 3 runners will charge at their own islands. However, if the callout is something like 2 Void and 1 Arc, then obviously the Solar runner doesn't need to charge Solar, so they'll go to Void to charge since 2 Void are needed. Now, keep in mind that there'll be 3 orbs charging at whatever island Argos is already facing. So there are a few options for the runner of that island. They can either cook an additional orb of that element by doing a hot swap, which I can cover in a second. They can go charge a crystal at a different island, and then just communicate to one of the defenders to pick up one of the orbs at that island to break the Argos shield instead. Or finally, they don't really even need to charge a 6th orb. They can just pick up one of the 3 that are being cooked at the island that the defenders dropped their orbs off at. To do a hot swap, or what I call it, anyone with an uncharged orb in their hands can walk up to a fire that has a floating charged orb that's ready to be picked up and swap them. To do this, simply just interact with the 2 orbs a total of 4 times consecutively. And at the end, you'll have successfully placed the uncharged orb in the fire, and you will have the charged orb in your hand ready to go. Note that any charged orb can be only left on the ground for a short time. After that, it will disappear. So in general, if you have to swap charged orbs for any reason, do it quickly, or you'll have to go and recharge it again. So now that the runners have charged the 3 orbs needed to break Argos' shield, and the 3 defenders have kept most of the adds down, you can get ready to start the DPS phase. Note, adds will continuously spawn during DPS, as they are tied to how many orbs are actually sitting in the fires, aka the more orbs you have charged in the fires, the more adds that will spawn. The 3 runners, unless a defender was tasked with breaking the shield, will communicate that they are ready to break his shield. And at the same time, all 3 people will shoot the 3 elemental flares around Argos' shield and move them to the middle where there is a circular key-shaped hole. This may take some practice to learn how to do because you have to shoot and move your cursor at the same time. If all 3 elemental flares are brought to the middle at the same time, Argos' shield will break and you will be able to damage him. As soon as his shield breaks, chaos will ensue. So be prepared for a few things. First, he will immediately shoot out a triangular looking web that is a net, and it will trap anyone caught in it, and they need to be freed by players not trapped. You need to avoid this at all costs because getting trapped will significantly decrease your damage output to Argos. He will also shoot a second one about halfway through DPS phase, so watch out for it. Second, he will unleash 2 waves of dive bomber Harpies at you. The first wave is about 5 to 10 seconds after his shield breaks, and the second wave of Harpies is right when DPS finishes. Third, as I said, ads will be spawning and attacking you as well. While all of this is going on, you need to be damaging him. Use your Whisper or what other weapon you're damaging him with, and in addition you can pick up the 3 charged orbs or whatever orbs are remaining in the fires and shoot those at him as well. They do very large amounts of damage. After about 15 to 20 seconds of damage, his shield will close up and you will be unable to damage him anymore. Clear out remaining ads, finish off the last of the dive bomber Harpies, and get ready to jump up onto some platforms to avoid Argos wiping the raid. This phase is when Argos charges up his super attack and will wipe everyone if it isn't interrupted. You'll jump on the platforms that spawn around him and look for some glowing white vents that can be damaged. There are 2 up top on his left and right side of his head, there is 1 on each of his arms, and then there are 2 underneath him in the back. You have to continuously damage these vents until they turn red and then explode. You need to destroy 2 vents to stun him and prevent him from wiping you. You can destroy any 2 vents, however I recommend picking a side and destroying those vents as the time you have to do this is very limited. So for example, if you are jumping up on the platforms that are on his left side, shoot his left head vent, and then look down and shoot his left arm vent. This way you don't really have to move much. However you do it, once he's stunned, you will head back to where you started originally and get ready to repeat everything again. Make sure you go back to the correct area and pick up the correct uncharged orb so you can get ready to go ahead and charge them as necessary. Note, during the charging vent shooting mechanic, you can damage him. However, your damage output is cut down by about 90%, so unless he's literally inches from death, it's not worth wasting your ammo on him at this point. Argos will reset, new elemental orbs will reappear above him, and defenders and runners will repeat the job as they did the first time. Runners will recharge new orbs to match what is needed to break the shield this time, and defenders will pick up the empty orbs and take them to whichever island Argos is facing this time. Keep repeating this same process until he finally falls. Note that because of his limited number of vents, you can only actually do 4 damage phases. After that, he will have no more vents left to prevent him from wiping the raid. Ultimately, after he's dead, Kalos will reward you with a chest and thank you for purging his ship of this Vex invasion. Congratulations, as you have just completed the Eater of Worlds. If you found this video helpful, please drop me a like, comment, or hit that subscribe icon. It's free and it'll gain you access to many of my other Destiny 2 raid videos. Thanks for watching, and until next time, Guardians, best of luck.